If I had to enter new money and old money circles all over again, this is exactly what I do to cut your time into half. This video is for you if you want to enter new money and old money circles to build elite relationships, close high-level deals, or date someone whose last name opened doors. In this video, I'll be breaking down how old money and new money think, how they make decisions differently, and how you could gain access to these different circles. I am Vanessa, former ultra-high net worth private banker at Goldman Sachs and UBS, and over the past decade, I've sat down with both old money and new money circles where I've closed 8- and 9-figure deals. So today, I'm going to share with you about how they think. Here's what most people don't know. Old money and new money, they don't just dress differently, they trust differently. And they think in completely opposite frameworks. One thinks in terms of leverage, and the other thinks in terms of legacy. Old money is generational wealth. Families who've held influence for over a century. So you could actually think of them as the Dassault in France, the Grosvenors in the UK, the Rothschilds, and the Agnelli family of Fiat. They own palaces, galleries, and foundations, and they prefer Fabergé eggs over flashy Lambos. New money is self-made wealth, and those are usually your crypto whales, your tech unicorn founder, and your hedge fund disruptors. So you could actually think of them like Elon Musk, Jack Ma, and Alexander Wang. They're bold, they're visible, and they're always building the next billion-dollar thing. Both groups operate with power, but how they give access is different. In the first segment, I'll talk about how they think. For old money, they think in terms of preservation, privacy, and pedigree. Their ultimate goal is continuity, not disruption. Their mindset, new is risky, loud is untrustworthy, and flash is vulgar. They admire restraint, think Patek Philippe over Richard Mille. And old money actually see time in terms of generations. They don't see time in quarters, years, or decades. And their reputation matters way more than the return on investment or ROI. I once sat down with a third-generation family office in Geneva. The father didn't ask me what my clients did. He asked what values were passed down to them. And that was his due diligence. New money think in terms of leverage, scale, and bold moves. They love taking risk, they love speed, and they love audacity. Their mindset is very much like, you prove your value quickly or get off my way. And when I was in the Art Basel in Miami, I actually met a crypto founder and he gave me only 30 seconds to pitch to him while we were admiring a Takashi Murakami NFT. Now that you know about how each group think, let's get into the social etiquette and the cues that you can use to gain access into these groups. So for old money, understatement is power. You don't rush, you don't brag, and you never name drop. They probably know anyone you desire or you hope to name drop anyway, so don't ever name drop in front of old money. Their social fluency is really subtle. They think and they speak in terms of social values or shared values and not shared status. So if you really want to connect with old money, you have to speak their language, which is the legacy language. So you could say something like, what would you like your grandchildren to inherit emotionally, not just financially? You could also ask about family traditions or rituals, and of course, never ask them about their net worth. You could say something like, does your family still vacation in the summer home in Biarritz? And old money really show respect when you know history or you show some sort of interest for their history. Old money always play the long game. And legacy. It's all about reputation, legacy, and preservation. When they first meet you, they actually think, can you be trusted across generation? Will you protect their name in the rooms that they are not in? I once hosted a client lunch in Kunsthaus in Zurich, and it was with a 5th-generation banking family. The conversation was never about wealth. It was more about how their family actually shaped the cultural capital. It was about who curated the Rothko and how the family foundation shaped the cultural capital, as well as what inheritance means to them emotionally. Here's what old money look for before they let you in. Number 1, discretion. They test how well you keep confidence and never ever name drop, as I mentioned earlier. They probably already know anyone you want to name drop. And here's the mistake that most people make. They name drop and they fail and they are just out. And also there's a certain sense of polished stillness to old money. They actually observe how well you're able to hold silences. Can you hold space with stillness and gravitas? And the third is cultural compatibility. Right? I mentioned about cultural capital in one of my previous videos. Proximity is power. Can you discuss opera, polo, or art without Googling? They really value shared refinement over shared ambition. So this actually shows how much of an emphasis cultural capital is, especially when it comes to old money. So I might actually start a new series on cultural capital where I talk more about art, polo, and all the old money activities and interests. At the Sotheby's preview in London, I commented on a brushstroke on one of the lesser-known artists named Lucien Frey, and the collector beside me appreciated that observance, and he later on introduced me to his network. Here's a few elite social cues that you could use with old money. You could actually ask, what's the most meaningful tradition that your family still keeps? It opens the doors to heritage and legacy conversations, and it shows depth, not flash. Of course, if you're at an art gallery or exhibition, you always comment on the curation of the art and never the price. Never ask, how much is this? It's considered quite rude and undiscerning. Now let's talk about new money codes. New money show momentum, big energy, and big bets. And do you know that new money, they actually really admire people who bet on themselves and fail forward because they have once been probably where you are, right? And every time you want to take a big risk or a big bet, the people around you will try to hold you back, and they know what it's like to be there, and you really have to be your own best cheerleader to take that risk, because probably no one around you would support you, and most people, they cannot stand someone who is doing better than them. And this applies to anything, right? Not just wealth. Like if you would like to move to a new country, or you would like to start a new business and leave the 9 to 5, people don't always support when you want to go to the next level and they still are at the same level. So that's why new money, they really respect and admire people who take risk, bet on themselves, and are not afraid to fail forward. And if you really want to touch their ego points, this is one of my favorite questions that I like to ask new money. It's, what made you so successful, or how did you become so successful? It's such a great question because it tells you so much about the person, and at the same time, people love to talk about themselves. It's really an open-ended question there. New money also think in terms of network effects and virality. So if you actually know, there's this really famous Labubu doll that everyone pairs it with their Hermes handbag. And do you know that the founder of the Labubu doll actually went viral? The doll went viral and he became a billionaire within a very short period of time. So new money is actually fueled by storytelling, social proof, and virality. While old money asks who your family is, new money, they don't care who your family is. They are more curious about how big your vision is, how much you're willing to take risk, and are you able to multiply the opportunities that they give you? This is what new money look for before they let you in. Number one, execution power. What have you built? What have you launched? And what have you led? And even if it isn't really at the end result yet, what they really want to see is that you actually share the same kind of personality with them, which I have mentioned, right? You are really open to taking big risk, breaking the status quo, and just doing different from what everyone around you is doing. And number two is modern social capital. As much as old money vet your lineage, new money, they vet what you actually post online, to be honest, because that affects your modern social capital. It affects your reputation in some way or other, right? Every post, every reel that you make online tells a lot about you. So in a way, yes, they do vet what you put online. And the third is vibe-driven trust. New money can smell BS from a mile away, so be authentic and connect with them authentically. Here's a social cue tip. My favorite question to ask new money is, what is the most fun risk that you've taken lately? This is a really great open-ended question because firstly, like I said, people love to talk about themselves and it touched their ego points in some way when you ask what's the most fun risk they've taken lately. And also there is a dopamine spark when they talk about it. And also you could ask them what's their take or opinion on certain things, like example, a new tool that you're exploring online to launch. And you could ask, like, curious, what would you have done differently? That's a really great question to connect with them as well. Here's the exciting framework that I'll give you between old money and new money that you can discern. For old money, their status signal is manners, heritage, and taste. So you could think of brands like Goyard, Sifonelli, Vintage Hermes, and Loro Piana. For the status signal of new money, they go by scale, speed, and proof of concept. So brands like Balenciaga or Richard Mille. For old money, their conversation topics are more discreet and cultured, so you could talk about philanthropy or the arts. For new money, their favorite conversation topics are more sharp and forward-thinking, so you could talk about AI, crypto, or VC trends. And for dress code-wise, for old money, as we all know, it's all about quiet luxury and family heirlooms. So you could think of them wearing old Cartier tank watches, Savile Row clothes with no logos, hand-me-down cashmeres, and tailored Brunello Cucinelli. For new money, they love things that are more designer forward and they really love to collect rare statement pieces. So you could think of it like Archiver Chanel, Amiri, Rick Owens, and Boat. Old money love to go to social events that are more cultured. So you could think of social events like Polo at Guards Club, Glenburn Opera Festival, Royal Ascot, private yacht regattas, and private dinners at the Wallace Collection. For new money, it's more like Art Basel in Miami, Burning Man, Formula One in Monaco, and NFT in New York City, and Soho House festivals. So talking about these events, If you remember my last video, I spoke about how proximity gives you access. So if you haven't checked it out, I'll put it in the link below so that you can watch it. Here are 5 tips on how you could socialize with old money and new money. For new money, number 1, know your history and heritage. Ask about their rituals, ask about their family traditions. Number 2, always position yourself in a conversation where you speak to them about preserving their legacy, because like I said, reputation matters more to them than returns on investments. And thirdly, compliments should be subtle and move a bit slower because they tend to have more silences and they tend to be more discreet and tend to operate on a slightly slower speed when it comes in terms of etiquette relative to new money. And remember when I told you that a great conversation topic with old money is arts or philanthropy? So for the arts, you can always ask something timeless, right? Such as, was that painting or that portrait made during Belle Époque? There's just something so timeless about it. And for socializing with new money, it's about leading with value and risk. Always lead with vision and be passionate when you connect with them. Ask them what's the next thing that they are exploring, launching, or building. And here's one last bonus tips for both groups. There are always invisible gatekeepers, so be nice to everyone. And the gatekeepers could be their partners, their wives, their drivers, their personal assistants, and their advisors. All who are observing your manners and your etiquette, and ultimately they influence your social invites. A billionaire once told me that social capital or human capital is the most valuable asset that you could ever own. And I'd like to add on to what he said, that actually the real innate asset is your own ability to be able to build social capital from scratch. Social capital or connections is just a byproduct of your innate asset to build that social capital. And that's why I created elevating circles, so that you're able to build social capital from anywhere in the world, even if you start from nothing. And once you have social capital, you're able to access high-level opportunities and luxury dating opportunities that are not even on the dating apps. And even if you don't go for dating, there are also lots of business opportunities that you can get through a network that you probably can't get online. So here's what I teach in Elevating Circles. I show you how to calibrate your presence, your identity, and your social fluency to be able to attract ultra high net worth individuals, to build elite relationships, how to position yourself as a peer and not a fan or a follower, how to read people in high status rooms and to respond with the right energy and strategy, and the social codes and etiquette that lead to wealth, power, and legacy relationships. If you're ready to step into a world where influence and wealth meets intimacy, then Elevating Circles is the blueprint. When you master the innate ability to build social capital in the high net worth circles, your next luxury partner, investor, or friendship becomes inevitable. Now, in my next video, I'm breaking down how to spot old money in 10 signs instantly. If you've ever wondered what separates class from flash, then this video is for you. I'll also be updating my Billionaire Hotspots series here on this channel so that you don't only know where to go, but also how to show up to each event. Whether you're in Europe, United States, or Asia, if it's already live, you'll see it here. If not, tap the notification bell so that you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next video.